Good morning and welcome to our press conference in honor of International Women's Day. I want to begin by recognizing the guests we have here today: Karen Mosenter of Jewish Family Services, Nicole Ghazi of Muslim Family Services, Dr. Rosair Efari, the former chair of the African Immigrants Commission, Grace Tellers of Advocating Opportunity, Dr. Selashe Asfa from ETSS, and of course Elizabeth Brown, City Council President pro tempore. And I also want to thank those who support us in the community in our fight and in highlighting the achievements of women. Tracy Nahara, Esther Flores, Jen Miller, Guadalupe Velasquez, and many, many others. And of course, I want to thank Us Together staff, who work tirelessly on behalf of new Americans in our city every single day. Thank you for being here, and thank you for standing in solidarity with all of us as we honor and recognize the contributions and achievements of women around the world. International Women's Day has a long and storied history. Beginning in 1909, this day has been associated with important social movements around the world, beginning with women's suffrage. Later on, this year, the United States will celebrate the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which was the culmination of all those efforts that ensured women the right to vote. Throughout the 20th century, International Women's Day was closely associated with the labor movement, calling for equal pay, equal economic opportunity, equal legal rights, reproductive rights, and subsidized child care. And while the United States government has not yet officially recognized International Women's Day, the movement has continued to grow globally, with the United Nations officially celebrating this day since 1975. On International Women's Day, we seek to celebrate the great strides women have made around the world in recent years. We have seen women narrow the gender gap in government on every single continent. Women have been at the forefront of scientific achievement, such as Katie Bowman, a 29-year-old computer scientist who developed the algorithm which allowed researchers to capture the first ever picture of a black hole. Women such as Elifan Tiliamuk have proven their strength and resilience. Born in Kenya, and today a citizen of the United States of America, she became the first woman from her village to graduate from college, and last week, she qualified to represent United States in the Tokyo Olympics marathon. But while we are proud of the innumerable ways that women have shattered glass ceilings, we cannot afford to be silent about the barriers that continue to hold us back. This year, we are choosing to focus on one in particular: the persistent violence against women. According to UNICEF, more than 1 in 10 girls worldwide have experienced sexual violence at some point in their lives. And at least 200 million girls that we know of have undergone female genital mutilation cutting. These injustices and others like them occur around the world, including right here at home. Ohio has the 4th highest incident of human trafficking, and gender-based violence knows no borders. Violence against women can take many forms, including but not limited to sexual assault, dating violence, stalking, domestic violence, sex trafficking, and FGMC. As a social services agency, we are uniquely equipped, thanks to our outstanding case managers, to provide services to our clients who have been victims of some of these forms of violence. But we are limited on our own, and there is so much work to be done by women and men alike to prevent violence, not just respond to it. And so I have 3 asks for those listening today. First, We must mobilize our entire community to make sure everyone is as informed as possible about the causes, nature, and remedies for gender-based violence. This means overcoming the cultural barriers among and between ethnic and religious communities and dismantling stereotypes about certain religions and cultures. This sort of community education campaign builds trust between key partners, including faith-based and secular social services agencies, faith leaders, community leaders, members of government, all of whom we have here represented. Second, in order to break down cultural barriers, we must ensure that limited English proficiency New American women and men receive the resources necessary to understand and prevent gender-based violence. These resources should be translated into languages that they speak, with particular focus on the large African and Southeast Asian populations in Columbus. Additionally, interpreters working with law enforcement or medical services providers should be trained in the basic trauma-informed care, so that we can provide appropriate interpretation and appropriate services to limited English proficiency victims of violence. And finally, we must continue to ask government at all levels to provide adequate resources for prevention and response to violence against women. In particular, hear us together. We know that limited English proficiency women with a history of trauma require special programming that should be culturally and linguistically competent. But there is really a lack of government grants at local and state level enough for us to provide this competent care. And again, this gathering today is an outstanding first step toward making our community more aware and empowered to prevent violence against women. I hope this momentum from this community building press conference propels us toward the future that is fair, safer, and stronger for all our daughters, mothers, and sisters. And now I am pleased to turn things over to a strong female leader in Columbus government, City Council President Pro Tempore Elizabeth Brown.
Thank you so much, Nadia. Thank you for bringing us all together here today for a truly important celebration of women, but really acknowledgement of all the work left to do. It's important that that's our focus. And my daughter Carolyn is here with me. So she is always a very sober reminder that as important as we all think we are, we really just exist to provide snacks to our children. So she'll be kind of going in and out around my ankles as I offer a couple remarks here. As we prepare to recognize International Women's Day on Sunday, let's celebrate the progress we've made both abroad and at home. But let's also recognize there's more work to be done. Columbus, our city, is proud to be a welcoming city. We say that we accept and appreciate the contributions of anyone, no matter where they are from, who want to pursue their American dream while living in our city. Equality is not just a women's issue, it's everyone's issue, it's a family issue, it's a business issue. Gender equality is essential for economies and communities to thrive. So we take this very personally in the city of Columbus. We recognize that there are ongoing challenges to achieving equality in our city, and there are specific challenges faced by immigrant and refugee women. This morning, thank you, Nadia, for helping us focus in on gender-based violence. Families and victims of abuse should never live in the shadows due to fear of utilizing city resources. And in your call to action, you spelled that out very well. We've tried to make some progress in the city of Columbus, and we know we have a lot more to do. In this year's operating budget, City Council allocated funding to develop a robust language access policy for city services. As it currently stands, we have some translation policies and translation resources, but they do not do enough to make sure that every woman in our city, no matter what her first language is, feels safe to call when she needs help, feels safe to call when she's been the victim of a crime, or if she has witnessed a crime again. Excuse you. So we know that we've got a lot more to do, and that's why we allocated resources in our 2020 operating budget to make sure we develop that robust language access policy. And it is about keeping women and communities safe, no matter what language they speak, but it's also about ensuring that there isn't we are city government. We serve everybody who's in this city. We serve every person in this city. Frankly, whether they're a citizen or not, they are our residents, and our city, whether you're calling with help for needing help for your utility bill or needing to access vital safety services, our city should serve you. We are so grateful to have partners in the community doing this work with us. Us Together, Jewish Family Services, Muslim Family Services, African Immigrants Commission, Advocating Opportunity, and ETSS. And more than ever, I think this work requires partnership. We cannot achieve gender equity if we talk about it in a vacuum, if we only think inside City Hall what progress we need to make. We must be in the community asking for input and delivering on that feedback. So thank you, Nadia, for bringing us together, and thank you for the wonderful partners behind me. And am I supposed to turn it over? Yeah. All right.
Good morning. I'm Karen Mosenter, and I am CEO of Jewish Family Services. We work with people from all across the Central Ohio community, people of all religions, all races, all cultural backgrounds, helping them find jobs, providing counseling, case management, and service navigation. And we work with dozens of community partners, some of whom are standing here with us today, to help our clients address the challenges they face. For the vast majority of our clients, one of those primary challenges is poverty. As we recognize International Women's Day today and consider violence against women in particular, it's crucial to draw attention to the intersection of gender and poverty. I want to share a story that reflects the experience of too many Jewish Family Services clients. And this is a story of clients from different races, religions, cultures, different economic levels. It highlights the connections between gender and poverty. Sarah was a stay-at-home mother, living a comfortable middle-class life, what appeared to be so, but her marriage was falling apart. Her abusive husband had moved out of the family's apartment, stopped paying rent and utilities, filed for divorce, and sought custody of their 2 young children. Lacking her own income, Sarah was unable to afford the rent or any of her other mounting bills. She could not move to a less expensive part of town or move in with friends and family because the judge in her custody case was requiring her to stay put so her children could stay in the same schools. She was facing eviction and homelessness. And she also faced losing custody of her children because she lacked the financial means to support them. Sarah was experiencing a cascade of crises and a new reality that included poverty. Sadly, Sarah's story is not unique. It's a women's story, and it's a poverty story. Gender has a significant influence on poverty, and poverty has a disparate impact on women. Many poverty risk factors are unique to or more prevalent among women. These include divorce, single parenting, the gender pay gap, gender discrimination in the workplace, and most importantly today, trauma and abuse. And it is harder for women than men to escape poverty. And that's true for a variety of reasons, including their primary role in caring for children, lack of accessible and affordable child care, and the gender wage gap. One primary predictor of poverty is trauma and abuse. 1 in 4 women experience abuse from an intimate partner, and 1 in 3 women will be the victim of sexual assault, regardless of ethnicity or religion. How does abuse contribute to poverty? 99% of abusive relationships include economic abuse, when a male partner coerces a woman through financial controls, as Sarah's husband did. Domestic violence is also a leading cause of homelessness. 50% of homelessness in the U.S. is connected to domestic violence. Abuse contributes to poverty also when abusers sabotage their victims, jeopardizing their employment, their education, and health through harassment, stalking, and intimidation. And abuse also contributes to poverty because of the enormous costs of survival, including legal costs and medical costs, healthcare costs. Long-term trauma resulting from abuse makes it difficult for women to maintain employment and to form healthy personal and professional relationships. So domestic abuse against women has a direct effect of causing poverty and exacerbating poverty. These scenarios can be magnified many times over for foreign-born women who face immigration issues and may be afraid to apply for public benefits, may not be able to get a work permit on their own, and for whom cultural differences may prevent them from seeking assistance outside their community. And while violence against women is a leading cause of poverty, the flip side is also true. Poverty increases the risk for women for violence against women. At Jewish Family Services, we work to empower women like Sarah to escape abuse and poverty and achieve financial and economic stability, emotional stability. For women escaping abuse, this might include helping her find safe housing, access public benefits and emergency financial supports, receive counseling, obtain child care, enter into education or training programs, and attain employment that enables her to support her family. Today, I'd like us to reframe the conversation. Domestic abuse is not just a women's issue, it's a poverty issue. And domestic abuse prevention strategies should be prioritized as poverty prevention strategies. These strategies include things like free or low-cost legal care for divorce and custody cases for abuse victims, increased affordable housing, financial empowerment education for women, access to low-cost health care, child care, and transportation, and employment supports that enable women to access living wage employment. On International Women's Day, it is my honor to stand alongside these partners to shine a light on these issues. And all of us work together to drive change for our community and women like Sarah. Thank you.
All right. I'm Nicole Ghazi. I'm the Executive Director of Muslim Family Services of Ohio. And I'm honored. Thank you very much for facilitating my attendance here. And before I begin my remarks, I just want to tell you that perhaps one of the most powerful people on this particular stage in front of you is our gentleman here, because we cannot combat gender-based violence without our male allies. And so I applaud you for standing up here with us. And in no way, while I am always at the forefront of explaining how powerful the women in my community are, I am always also mindful of the fact that allies are very important to all of us. And on this International Women's Day celebration, we reflect on the progress that we have made. We celebrate that tenacity and that persistence of extraordinary women in our collective and our respective histories that have paved our present. And we celebrate the ones that continue to broaden our perceptions of what's possible and to challenge our stereotypes and to break down the barriers of gender inequality. However, we're in 2020 and we're not there yet. So if we look at the United States, white women still earn about 79 cents on every dollar earned by men, and even less is earned by our Black and Latina sisters. We rank 75th in the world for women representation in governments. And until today, or still today, we are faced with the grim reality that approximately 1 in 3 women experience gender-based violence. No woman or culture is immune to violence against women. Abusers in all communities employ culturally specific tools, such as wrongfully invoking religious mandates to control, abuse, or punish, And so we have to recognize that the resources for combating domestic violence really also need to be culturally specific. It's an issue, it's a global issue that we have to face together. And here in Central Ohio, we're doing something about it. Muslim Family Services has spent the last 25 years in this community providing access to resources, empowering women, counseling, interventions, and case management to create an environment in which women will seek help. It's very hard for them to come forward. We've been able to help so many women in our community, women who have lived their entire lives here in Central Ohio, as well as those who have come in search of better life. And it's not easy for anyone to come to our doors or to anybody else's door to seek that help. So often it's the one, however, that has been helped that so selflessly steps in to help with the next woman. And that's something we see play out over and over again. Women helping other women speaks to our very nature and spans across whatever else defines us. Whether it's a Muslim or non-Muslim client, an immigrant client, somebody born here, we are always in awe of the resilience of those that we serve. Women have been able to accomplish amazing feats in the face of adversity. So in each of the organizations represented here today, we are working within our networks to combat violence against women. It's a well-known fact that women of all faiths, of all nationalities, of all races, face the possibility of abuse and domestic violence and other gender-based acts of injustice equally. None of us is immune, and we are bound together not by this grim reality, but in the hope that we can help women. The hope that seeking help has and it will make a difference. The hope that in speaking up, empowerment is possible, because we know, we see it every day, that when you empower women, we empower communities. Let's remember the women in our lives that strive to make our world a better place. Their sacrifices and their efforts, no matter how big or how small, how public or how private, are valued. And there's real strength and there's powerful resilience, and that should be celebrated and supported. So as women, let's celebrate one another when we flourish, and let's raise each other up in the face of adversity, and let's stand together to ensure that not a single one of us is ever standing alone.
Hi, good morning. Today on International Women's Day, I want to talk about a specific type of violence that women often suffer. My name is Grace Tellez. For the last 9 years, I've worked in the anti-trafficking field, specifically with foreign national survivors of trafficking. Today, I serve as a bilingual legal advocate with Advocating Opportunity. Advocating Opportunity was created to provide holistic legal services to all victims of human trafficking, both domestic and foreign, whether they experience sex or labor trafficking or both forms of victimization. AO Columbus specializes in service to foreign national victims of human trafficking, assisting them with any legal needs they may have. A great deal of our work is applying for immigration remedies like T visas for victims who need to stay safely in the U.S., in providing removal defense representation if they are at risk for deportation. The individuals we serve can be particularly vulnerable to traffickers due to their immigration status, low English proficiency, and the social isolation that many new Americans often experience. Traffickers use those vulnerabilities to take advantage of their victims, who may not be aware that what is happening to them is a crime. They may not be able to access the help they need due to physical isolation, fear of repercussions, or unfamiliarity with the rights afforded to them here in the United States. We work to inform survivors of the rights and protections available to them under the law. We want survivors of violence to know that they do not have to accept abusive, exploitative treatment at the hands of anyone, that they have autonomy and rights, and we are invested in protecting and empowering them. Advocating Opportunity works to educate our community about human trafficking, but especially labor trafficking, which disproportionately affects new Americans and is too often overlooked by law enforcement and other entities with the power to help combat it. We want our communities to know about these crimes, not only so that they can protect themselves, but also so they know that help is available and where to access it. In the past few years, more victims have been identified, and we are serving more and more people. It is necessary and beneficial to invest energy in expanding the network of providers who serve foreign national survivors, who face a myriad of barriers to recovery. We are deeply grateful for wonderful partners like Us Together and ETSS, who play a vital role in identifying and serving survivors of human trafficking. We are able to provide them with training and consulting on trafficking-specific cases, and they graciously share their cultural expertise, linguistic capacity, and service provision knowledge. This ensures that we are offering appropriate and accessible services to everyone. We are thankful for such capable partners who are always ready to lend a hand and are dedicated to eradicating human trafficking. Partnerships like these are the key to success and allow us to create a community that is safe and accepting for everyone. We are honored to be here today and look forward to continuing this work together. We have so much to learn from one another, and we stand united in the fight against human trafficking and all forms of violence against women. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Rosa Ifedi, and as Nadia rightly introduced me at the beginning, former chair of the African Immigrants Commission. And so everybody's going, what's that? The African Immigrants Commission was legislated many years back, but was activated and empaneled in 2017 by Governor Kasich. And so it's a commission of sub-Saharan African immigrants advocating for Africans all over Ohio. So we have an 11-member commission that's working to do good stuff for Africans in Ohio. And in joining my voice with Nadia's and everybody else who's here, when you think of Africa, and as diverse as it is, that diversity is here in Ohio. 54 countries, more than 200 languages across the board. And also when you look at Africans in terms of where they come from, socioeconomics, it's all over the place. I mean, we walk the strata. So we say this always when we deal with African communities, is there's no one thing that speaks to Africa. Even though everybody likes to talk about Africa as a homogenic group, it's not. The languages are different. As we've been working on the US Census, we've seen even more diversity in trying to capture languages and communities. So honing in on the topic of today, it's amazing. The theme of this year's International Women's Day is each equal. The voices of just each person magnifying the stories is what this year's theme is all about. And I'm so proud that we're doing that today, because not every woman will have the opportunity to come and speak and say what's going on in their lives. But all of us working with them are doing just that. And this opportunity, therefore, is so important. And we can't stress enough the different kinds of violence perpetrated against women in our communities. They go unreported because, as we just heard, lack of information, because of lack of education, because of our awareness, and because of lack of agency. When people feel disempowered, they are likely not going to even report. When people feel they can't trust their community, they will not even report. So it's so important that the work of the people on the ground, ETSS, Us Together, Chris, all of you, is so important. We're here to support it. We're here to add our voices to it and say it's real. There was a presentation I did one place, and I want to talk about the resiliency also of women once they've been empowered. So there's this young woman, she had come, no language skills, but she quickly, the system was not working right for her at that point, because she was told you can't take the language classes because your husband is. So again, looking at policies that are in place to deter or aid is so important. Well, just like many African women, which I will say, African women are very resilient. I mean, there's that stereotype of, disempowered, but if you ever talk to a matriarch in Africa, you know they own the power. They wield power. This girl, this woman, did not listen to anybody, took the driving license, eventually got enough skills to take the driver's license on her phone. She didn't have a computer, and she passed the test. That shows you just a story of resilience. that once we can get women where they need to be, they flourish and they add to the community. So just in terms of that, the African population again in Ohio, they've suffered traumas of dislocations. Some of them have come through camps, refugee camps. I can educate Nadia about this because they see them one-on-one. So again, specific targeting of the kinds of trauma. Some of them have been raped at these camps, and now they're here. So how do you begin to even get them to go beyond that hump of, the trauma of in the camps? We want to say this. As the organizations here, we, together with you and the community, we truly appreciate the invaluable work that you're doing to bring healing. And that's the word I kind of feel captures what we're talking about. So education, social services, but all of that leads into the healing of the body, of the soul, of the mind. That's what this work is all about. And we're hoping that as this work continues, we see these women come out, have faces, have voices, and represent. They are going to add so much to the community, and that's why we need them on board. So again, thank you to all you do, those of you on the forefront, and we're here to always lend our voices and support. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Seleshi Asfa. I'm the President and CEO of Ethiopian Toward Social Services, ETSS. And I'm honored to be here and side by side with you. I'm the only man to speak and advocate for women's issue, domestic violence, because this is a very important topic. That's what I'm here today. I know you wonder why he's here, but the reason is that, number one, domestic violence is really a major public health crisis. It's a crisis that we have seen every day in our clients, because we have a department called family care, that the over 150 clients per year that we see, both primary, secondary victims, that we see how it is really a public health crisis, which we have to address. And we have seen that. On the initial stage, when we started this program, the first fight that we got is from the women. They think that we came against their religion, against their culture, against their own family. But after so many efforts and awareness and education, now it is really flowing. It was a real cause that our women are really suffering, and that's what we have to share, that burden from them. The second reason that I came here today is this issue, this fight, is not only women's fight. We have to care, we have to take that burden from them and stand side by side with them. We need more men to stand up and speak about domestic violence. Without men's participation, we cannot really win this case. So that's what I'm here today, to make the message that, to teach even our boys about, in any relationship, violence and control does not have places. So we have to teach our boys, our friends, our fathers, what a domestic violence means. Because peace and freedom begins at home. If we need to have a world peace, it starts and begins at home. Without that women's safety, we cannot build really a healthy and strong community. So that's what I'm here. I'm really happy that Nadia and all the work that we do, Jewish Family Services, our city council member, Brown, and we are so fortunate that we have a welcoming city, we have a welcoming county, we have a welcoming state even. Even you have heard from Dr. Rozier that the African Immigrant Commission established by the state of Ohio, the governor. So that means that our state is really, and county and city are welcoming and give us opportunity to fight for our refugee immigrant women, because we have seen that their burden, even they are not allowed to cry, which is her natural right. She's crying inside. And that's what stress, depression grows up in that area. So we have to stand together. That's what I'm here. And, but let me read one statement I like really from in 2018, the United Nations statement that really the most dangerous place for a woman is not a dark street in a strange city. It's not in a war zone or protest. The most dangerous place for a woman is in her own home. Until that changes, we all suffer. I agree and approve this message. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming to support us. Together we can do so much more, and that's how we start our campaign, coming together. Thank you, and we conclude the press conference. So much. I want to hug everybody, and I'm trying to.